Bore da, o'n meddwl bydd yn dechrau efo map. I was a bit taken aback, I have to say. I really wondered whether I should still be working when the minister said there wouldn't be anybody in this room who remembered the 1974 reorganisation. My working life seems to have been bracketed by reorganisations. 74 was a young civil servant dealing with the consequences of the changes at the time. As you all know, I was Chief Executive at the time of the 96 reorganisation, and now, as Auditor General, we're facing another reorganisation. Form follows function. Where is the debate in Wales about what local government should be about? Where is the debate about what services should be done at particular levels so that we can design what kind of structure we need? I think William's report was a very useful, it was a broad survey of Welsh public services, but it lacked a coherent vision. I had hoped that we would be talking post-Williams about what we want from public services and local authorities before we rush to reorganise. Form follows function. Where are the models of delivery and enablement that will help us deliver the value and quality Wales needs, the people of Wales need in the next 10 years? So I start with a map. And by now I hope that you will have sort of puzzled it. It is the Cantrefi. Now, the thing is, that is still alive in people's hearts and minds. These are the communities they relate to. When we reorganise at a higher level, do remember there are natural groupings and communities that stand the test of time and generate strong attachments. It is these communities that often subscribe to building hospitals and schools and have such strong attachment to changes in local services. These are the communities you serve as local councillors. And you don't fiddle with that attachment to community without a very good reason. The power of the braw in Wales is very strong. People have a fierce devotion to their community, and the interests of local people has given rise, as I said, to some of our most valued public institutions. And that attachment needs to be harnessed. Our services have to meet the needs of those communities. We need to be engaged and visible as we design our services to the local communities, to discuss with them what represents value for money. What represents value, not just for money for us, but value in terms of services to them. For local people to truly engage with the improvement agenda or the changes that are taking place, that need to take place in the health world, they must understand the implications for the quality and safety of the services on which they depend. I carried out, as you may recall, a study on public engagement in local government a couple of years back. That found few practical examples of collaborative forms of engagement. Since then, I've seen very little evidence of a shift towards co-production, or as it's often described, working with and not to. Williams touches on the need for that in terms of service design, but it's buried further on in parts of that particular report. But above all, I think the people of Wales need to understand that they are well governed, trusted and transparent, and can trust the councils, can trust the public services to be both transparent and well governed. Disillusionment, I think, becomes most entrenched when someone has a negative personal experience, reinforced by negative messages from local media or social media, without understanding the context. And it is surprising, is it not, that more than half the people of Wales do not know who runs our NHS. When public services score repeated own goals in relation to compliance and governance, they make it much more difficult for the communities to trust them. Unfortunately, I've had to make my audit regime for town and community councils more, not less rigorous, as a direct consequence of a series of governance failures and at the urging of the Assembly's Public Accounts Committee. The review I conducted jointly with Health Inspectorate of Wales last year into the governance issues at Betsy Cyffredinol Health Board has had to lead to the development of an escalation and intervention protocol in health. You'll be aware of recent public interest reports on Welsh councils, and I'm not going to go into them now. But the message is clear. Whatever else you consider reducing, your focus on governance and accountability cannot slip if you are to carry the communities with you in order to make the achievement of whatever changes you want. Develop more robust internal audit and scrutiny arrangements, and many of those issues can be dealt with and addressed within your own council. Please do that. It allows me to lighten my internal fees I charge you. But without timely, robust performance information, we find it very hard to make fair comparisons. How does my council compare with another? Where are the changes? Where are the improvements to be made? Until we have real comparisons, we can't raise the aspirations of our communities or target improvements to maximum effort. So I think we have to engage in a sensible and mature debate on what information is necessary, then make sure it is gathered, analysed and used to raise our game. And not simply, as at present, I think there's a risk of collecting information, everything that moves. We need to be selective and we need to focus on those. We also, I think, for a high-performing public service for the next decade, need to think more strategically. Salami slicing, as it's been called, the shortcuts in terms of taking a % off here and % off there, has been an easier choice for the short term. But those who take the harder road of service review and redesign are going to see the benefits. It's the long-term thinking that I think is essential to safeguard essential services for the future, produce innovations and efficiencies that make best use of limited resource. The Minister referred to this as Hugh Thomas's graph of doom. You've got a version of it in the publication that you picked up today from WLGA. But this is the Welsh block. And you do see at the bottom the inexorable rise of the health budget. That is why it is so important, and I keep stressing the need for health to reconfigure. At present, it is being bailed out every year. It is spending more money, and you saw recently the Nuffield report saying that another 1.25 would be needed to maintain the current status quo in Wales, 1.25 billion budget, over the next 10 years. Wales can't afford that. It needs to be a change. And that, I think, really, when that chart highlights the perfect storm that all public services in Wales face. Sharp reductions in funding, coupled with pressures from a growing and ageing population, rising demand in areas such as social services and education on top of health. All of this spells trouble for local authorities if they do not have robust, longer-term strategies in place which are linked to their medium-term financial plans. As an auditor, I look at this graph. I look at the expenditures that are taking place in local government, health, and in central government. Yes, it lightens somewhere around 2018-19. That's when currently we're scheduled to see a turn-up in the amount of money allocated to Wales. But where is the money going to come from to deliver the range of services, the reconfiguration, the changes that are needed? Perhaps with devolved fiscal powers, borrowing, perhaps tax-raising powers need to be used widely and not to avoid the hard decisions. So I will leave you, because I'm conscious of the time, I will leave you with a few headline points. What is it that we need out of the changes ahead of us? in terms of the services we provide. We need them integrated, seamless at the point of delivery. I have to say that I don't think service users care who runs the public services, so long as they receive good services. They want simpler ways, means of interacting with providers. We need to be innovative, sharing, learning, seeing mistakes as opportunities. I will repeat what I repeat at every public opportunity I have. Well-managed risk-taking is vital to our success in Wales and to achievements in public services over the next 10 years. But balance that with accountability. And finally, there is a role for external review. Our role I've been trying to interpret in the Wales Audit Office over the last few years has been to act as a conduit for ideas and innovations that we identify, to feed them back, and to try and run an audit regime that is both risk-based and proportionate. And for that to happen requires local government itself to, I think, to take the opportunity to define the range of its services, to stake its place in the governance structure of Wales. Diolch yn fawr.